Hey, friends, welcome back to Spiritual Crypto, my lo-fi podcast where I talk about things like spirituality, surprise, Vipassana meditation specifically. I am super interested in past lives. I just worked with a witch, which I was interested in sharing about today. I never worked with somebody in the past who called themselves a witch before. And I also talk about transcending the existent economic system through seeds. If you'd like to be a part of an ecosystem like that, that is working to empower people to build wealth through giving, which is what Seeds does, please consider making a gift to help someone in need. Hit the link in the description and you'll get seeds and thanks. It'll be of equal or greater value than the amount of your gift. In that way, it's net neutral from the beginning. And then if seeds go up in market value over time, you can build wealth simply because you help somebody, which I think makes for a better designed economic ecosystem for the place that humanity needs to go so that we're all better supported and no longer trapped in this old system where we're forced to do a lot of things we don't want to do to get the money that we need to survive. I've recorded 2 of these since I last published one, which I think was like 2 months ago. And I obviously haven't published them, and I'm not sure exactly why, except that I'm judging them, right? Like I'm judging them so much so that I decided not to put them out to people. I don't know what that is exactly. In one, I recorded it like the night before I got a decision about this legal battle I've had for years now with the platform Gemini, the centralized cryptocurrency platform. And I think I didn't publish it because I wasn't very grounded in that video. I don't know. It was like I just wasn't fully sitting in myself. And then I think it didn't seem authentic or something strange. Um, but I talked about how I might lose, and then I did lose. And it was devastating for about 36 hours. It was devastating because it meant that it was one of several things I was working on to bring in some money to have enough money for seeds and for me personally, of course, to, be fine. And every single thing that I was working on brought in no money. That particular case, which was a personal thing, it wasn't a legal battle on behalf of Seeds, but that would have brought in a big chunk of money, and I'm going to continue pursuing it. And I also had this like insurance legal thing that they said that they wouldn't negotiate a settlement, so that just means I need to file, but that's going to take a lot more work, and that's not where I should be devoting my time. But I don't think it is anyway, but I can do it to some extent. And I find that every system I go into, like in this case, I'm dipping my toe into the legal system to some extent. Every system I go into, because they're all designed with too much unhealthy masculine energy, I go into them and I'm just like, this is the stupidest fucking thing around. Like, this is so dumb. This is so inefficient. It doesn't work well. And maybe that's part of just what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm going to like go into the legal system and offer a new option. But that is effectively what I've done with Seeds after coming through, like a career as a pro stock trader and stuff and seeing how stupid the legacy economic system is kind of up close in that sort of environment. And then obviously we all experience the limitations of the current economic system every day. Um, so whatever. I think another reason I didn't publish the last 2 I recorded is I've started to worry these are too solipsistic. But that's kind of the point because I've always intended to treat them as like these lo-fi informal therapy sessions with a full understanding that that means it's probably only going to be interesting to me and then maybe to like some people in the future. I don't know. But to share what's been going on personally, um, those things happened and I lost all of them. And then I was also uh, working on our course. I was sharing about our How to Build Abundance in Cryptocurrency course. I'd set a deadline. I decided to make the deadline this year on Bitcoin Pizza Day, which is May 22nd. And we didn't get a single new person to sign up for the course. And that has never happened in like 6 years of offering the course. And some years we offered multiple courses. In the last several years, I've just been doing it once a year live. And I worried that that might happen And it was also very strange because even last year, I was focusing on sharing about it through YouTube. And even last year, when I did the same thing, and my YouTube channel was whatever, a little more than a third of the size that it is now, it's still very small. But we got like a surprising number of signups. And I wondered if this was an extension of energies messing with me at the time. And anyway, all of those things happening at once felt pretty devastating for like, I think, yeah, like 36 hours or something. And that also showed me that the Vipassana meditation is working because like the idea with Vipassana, like what Goenka is the teacher, you probably, if you've heard about Vipassana, Goenka is the teacher you've probably been made aware of because he did the best job of scaling these centers for lay people around the world. He's been dead for many years now, but a recording of him is still shown at these courses. And in those recordings, he talks about how, like, the Vipassana is working if something that used to make you angry, for example, for 8 hours, if a similar thing happens in your life after you've been practicing Vipassana more, and that similar thing only makes you mad for 6 hours, like that shows you that the Vipassana is taking effect. And so this was an example of that because these things regarding getting basic needs met, having enough money to just live a decently comfortable life. I don't live an extravagant life at all. I have negligible expenses. The majority of the expenses I have right now are repayment of debt that I've taken on to take care of seeds in moments when that seemed necessary. That's something else to talk about though, because I think part of the lesson is it's showing me on a deeper level that I need to not do that. I can't be sacrificing personally in this way for seeds because it makes everything not grow. It gets in the way of seeds growth and in the way of my growth personally. But yeah, so this would have been like completely devastating in the recent past. A lot of my core wounding that I'm aware of, at least in this life, is about not having my basic needs met. And it wasn't that upsetting for that long. It was pretty amazing, actually. I did get sick after course close, which was weird. And it lasted like 2 weeks. I feel better now. I was just super tired and just kind of really felt paralyzed, like I couldn't do much of anything. And now that I have a little bit more perspective, because it's been a couple weeks, I really think that this happened in a similar way to like the reason I got robbed late last year, which maybe you've heard me speak about. Made a whole YouTube like mini documentary about the experience of it and stuff, and how cops are totally useless. Were so unhelpful in that whole process. Um, I think this also happened in which I'm going through this moment where literally nobody new signed up for the course, to show me that maybe that needs to be removed from the seeds model entirely, because the course has been something that sustains seeds for a while, right? Like, because in this world that we're in right now, where from what I can see, my experience and what Seeds has experienced so far as an organization, we haven't evolved enough so that people understand what Seeds is. They just want to give to it. They're adding to the mutual aid pool because they just want to do so, and buying up the seeds, which drives up the value for everybody involved. So until we get to that point, which I feel sure is going to happen within the next few years. In any case, I'm going to keep going until it happens. And until we reach that point, the reality that we were living in was like people still view monetary transactions as largely zero sum, I would say, or just purely transactional. And so as of 2019, when I started teaching the course, it started to work back then because I realized that cryptocurrency as a thing had become well enough known in the mainstream that a lot of people knew that it had already gone up a lot in value. And a lot of people were thinking like, oh, maybe I should pay attention to that and learn how to use it. And the model of the course and the way that relates to the larger seeds model is that the course is effectively free because like I offer, all this experience that I garnered, like being a pro stock trader, profitably, even though the markets were crashing, which very few people could do. It's just like a fact. I'm coming into that thing where like women get shit on if they say anything that is factual that could be perceived to be bragging. But it was just a fact. I knew how to make money in that environment as a pro stock trader when a lot of people were losing their jobs because they couldn't make money, right? They were even firing people that did make money. I lost trading jobs in that period of time because the firms were doing a shitty job. And it was a gift because I needed to go to different firms that were doing different things and ultimately do my own thing. But I always figured out ways to make money within those environments, whatever. And I can bring that knowledge into trading cryptocurrency now. And I started buying Bitcoin in 2013 when it was $90, blah, etc. All those things are factual. And like, I'm offering that for free to essentially scale seeds. So like it's function as this distribution model for seeds because when you sign up, it's $2,500, $24.99, and there's a monthly payment plan if you prefer that. But you get $2,500 worth of seeds. So that's like, it's a really good offer. It's a really generous offer. It's meant to be. I mean, if you believe in the quality of the project, it truly is. And I think at this point, that's been bared out because we've been around for such a long time. But yeah, I think it's showing me that I can't do that anymore either. I think there were some energies messing with me though, too, like maybe more negative energies, which brought me to consulting with this witch, which I'll tell you about. But I think in a higher vibratory sense, the lesson is like, I have to stop doing any version of that. I have to stop doing a thing where I think I partially got sick because I really did push myself to share about the course as much as I could heading into the deadline. I really kind of like, uh, I didn't go all out. I wasn't like killing myself to share about it as much as possible, but I was doing a lot of lives and yeah, just trying to share about it as widely as I could. And was certainly exhausted like after we hit the deadline for that. Um, and I think it's just telling me like these energies are trying to show me like you can't do that anymore. That's not what healthy feminine energy is. It's not chasing or like really knocking yourself out. Like I think I'm kind of still addicted to that feeling. It's some form of it's a sankara, so it's like an unhealthy attachment, some form of craving to just like that feeling of just utterly pushing myself towards something. And then it can be really fun if it works out and gratifying and whatever. But I think it's just trying to get me to let that go. And then the interesting side effect or something was that so that happened. I'm also not meditating as much as like the meditation has gotten harder, which shows me that something a sankara is close to the surface that I'm avoiding facing. Because when you meditate, you're facing these sankara and you're sitting with them equanimously so that they can come out and leave you alone forever, this like past trauma that you're carrying. And I was avoiding meditation because of for that reason. Like I'm sure that's why. But I also felt calmer in my exterior. And then interestingly, to me at least, well, I was thinking like I wanted to work with a witch, like a local Portland witch. And I started trying to find somebody online and I found somebody who'd actually left Portland, but she used to be here and hadn't updated her website since leaving, well, at least parts of it. And so I booked a session with her. And I think it was the day that I booked a session with her, a chunk of money came in that was totally unexpected. And then I booked another session with her and another chunk of money came in that was unexpected. So it's almost like a similar thing happened like in February. I think it was February, where I was just not sure what was going to happen financially. And then this chunk of money came in kind of out of nowhere. So I think the energies are trying to show me that they're going to take care of that and to let go of any striving whatsoever because it's of unhealthy masculine energy. It's not of a healthy sort of like envisioning and taking inspired action, whatever manifestation kind of thing. It's like it's something else that's been programmed into me by these unhealthy masculine energies that dominate the world we're still in. But they're dying. Yo, like, all right. So enough about me. Although I'll talk more about the witch. Um, I've been so encouraged to see that the Musk Trump falling out has already happened. I know I'm not alone in thinking that that was going to be inevitable, but I didn't think it would happen in within like 4 months or whatever it was, give or take, since Trump took office. And yeah, I'm just kind of reflecting on that and thinking like, wow, this stuff might just kind of implode really publicly and really embarrassingly faster than we think. I mean, I understand that that's a lot of times how things work. I come back to this example that I read about like when Nixon was president and this idea that it never looked like he would step down or be impeached. And then all of a sudden everything caved in all at once. And then it just happened very quickly. It happened really fast. And I assume that that's going to be the nature of the collapse of all of these systems that are resting on too much unhealthy masculine energy. And I also assume that's why I'm being asked to really excise all of it, as much of it as possible anyway, from myself personally and then also from seeds. And then I think that brings me to questions about the seeds model that maybe I still need to confront, because the seeds model works if people give, if enough people are adding to the seeds mutual aid pool, specifically adding new ether to the pool, because we send our gifts in seeds. And so therefore, when people receive a gift, they're probably going to trade those seeds for their local currency, which means they're taking that out of the mutual aid pool. And when we're receiving gifts in like dollars in fiat currency, we can convert that into cryptocurrency, into ether, and add that to the mutual aid pool. However, this model has been dependent on, to this up to this time, on the course, on another revenue stream, and frankly on me personally putting my own money into it whenever that was necessary to like bulk up the mutual aid pool because too many folks had taken from it. And also meaning like people that just were trying to take a profit. And you can do that. We don't restrict that in any way, but it showed a lot of faith in people. And we've had some men. It's like, to be clear, there's a lot of scammers, obviously, and bad energy in cryptocurrency as a sector. There is not much in seeds. And we're very fortunate in that sense. Without that, if that's in there too much, then the project couldn't exist, right? So we do have to have healthy boundaries to prevent it. And I think it might be telling me, the energies or whatever might be telling me that there needs to be like one more healthy boundary within the way seeds is designed that is not totally clear to me yet. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it could be, okay, this is good. Because this is this functioning like a therapy session. What if we had a generous bonus for those who add to the mutual aid pool, but we did it in a way where it required like a multi-sig wallet, and they agreed to have those funds there for X amount of time. Excuse me. Because the way we've done it in the past is we've offered super generous bonuses to those who are liquidity providers who added to the pool. And a lot of people didn't really understand it, didn't. We've had at least, let me think, I think 4 instances I can think of off the top of my head of earlier adopters who had fairly large amounts that they had added to the liquidity pool, to the mutual aid pool. And then they did something careless and got like their funds stolen, which is terrible when it happens. I mean, it can happen to anybody. But when that happened to them, it meant it also hurt seeds, because the thieves stole those funds from our mutual aid pool that had been added by the individuals in the seeds community. So yeah, maybe that's a good idea. I mean, I think it is a good idea. We should try that, because if we're using a multi-sig wallet, it could be something that like the seeds team and also the individual person both have to sign in order for a transaction to take place. That would prevent the possibility of a thief getting the funds, because they'd have to get the wallet information both from us and from the individual, and that would be highly unlikely that they could like hack both things. I mean, seeds has never been hacked, knock wood. Um, and we've never had any kind of security issues or anything like that, knock wood. Um, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yay! Thank you for listening to me talk through this, because I think that could really help. And we could go for people that were maybe. See, this is the thing I always struggle with, because I was about to say, like, we could go to people that could maybe put up higher amounts of money, quote unquote, higher, like, I mean, because seeds is serving some people who live on, like less than $2 a day. So we could go to the people in the developed world who can put up 25 grand or something like that or more. I'm always, I always feel weird about that thought though, because it plays into, is that an unfair phrase? It kind of plays into the design of the old economic system. It's capitalism going to the people who have capital. But we have to have money to do stuff. And if the course isn't working to generate money coming in, I can think of other ways to generate funds. But I don't know. I guess it comes back to that idea. I kind of struggle with or navigate this a lot. This idea of like existing within the current economic system, the current system at large as it is, and, like accepting the reality of it and whatever, um, while continuing to hold this vision for a kinder future through seeds, where nobody has to work a job that they hate. If you have a project you want to work on, a creative project, if you just need some time to heal, you can use seeds to receive the resourcing you need so that you have the space to do that. And then seeds has Vipassana like baked into the model as well. But yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'll have to think through that more and talk through it a bit, I think. Uniswap version 4 also launched earlier this year, and there isn't a seeds pool on Uniswap v4 yet. And I kind of wanted to mess around with creating a pool. I wanted to see, like, well, bots would probably just steal from it though. Because you can just choose to set a price. If you create a pool, you can set it at any price. But the thing is, whenever you do that, if you choose a price that is different from an existing price that's already out there on the market for the cryptocurrency in question, arbitrage traders will sniff that out and take advantage of it. And there are bots that are set up to do this, that have taken funds from the seeds pool in the past. But it would just be kind of interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, it'd probably get hit with bots like right away. Huh. And I'm not sure how that's working together with Uniswap v3 right now. I assume it's similar to the way v3 and v2 work together, where they just sort of merge the pools so that they would pool equity from each pool. They had some sort of automated way of doing this to keep the price almost identical in both pools. Huh. But maybe this could be a part of a project for the new pool or something, for the v4 pool. Yeah, so anyway, I think that was the point of nobody getting the course this time, to force me to look at this more critically and think through it and talk through it, and yeah, get to what seems best for seeds longer term. And I've also been retooling the course more so than I would have in previous sessions. And it's fortunate in a way that, like I was sick at the beginning of this course, and I even missed, I was like late for a session, like very late for a session. Poor Paul was there live. Paul might listen to this. And poor Paul, like I didn't notify him in advance because I just slept. I had set an alarm like I always do, and my dog always also responds to the alarm. So even if I somehow didn't hear it, I would feel my dog moving because he sleeps right next to me. And I just slept through it, I think, because I was just so, I guess, sick and exhausted. And I don't think I've been even 1 minute late for any other session ever. I really don't think I've been even, yeah, I don't think so. So I'm just like, I really want to be punctual since I started teaching the course like 6 years ago. And I felt terrible about it. But I think it was also trying to show me to have more grace with myself because I was also kind of pushing myself to do that as well. Nobody seemed to really care if it was at a specific date or a specific time. At least that hasn't been expressed to us in any way. And we've asked. So, yeah. But this also kind of, I think, presented this like I feel more free about experimenting more to try and make the course even better. Like it's giving me more space, I think, to improve the quality of the course than I would have felt that I had if we had a batch of new students taking it this time. And so that's good. That seems good. And I still want to continue offering it because I think it offers a lot of value for people. And I do enjoy doing it whenever I get to connect with people. But yeah, I think it's showing that that can't be a part of the model in any dependable way necessarily. But then at the same time, is that even true? Because like I think I'm kind of at this inflection point in terms of like the traction channel to share about seeds. Because a year from now, I mean, I intend to keep regularly posting on YouTube and stuff, and I'll continue to regularly update this podcast, which I post to YouTube too, if you're listening to it not on YouTube. And like in a year, I'll probably have, I don't know, at least three times the number of followers I have on YouTube now. So this is also, I think, kind of this inflection point where like this could be the quote unquote worst year. And in the future, there could be a lot more interest. So maybe it's also just helping me create an even better sort of like on demand version of the course. Although the aesthetics, I've been frustrated with like, I don't have the tools that I need to make it look as aesthetically good as it should, which is it's just about the Wi-Fi connection because I don't have control of the Wi-Fi connection here. It's like part of the deal with the landlord and like the landlady, she just takes care of the internet. And I think she's just chosen like a lower tier than would be ideal for like my needs for streaming and stuff. Is this interesting? It's not interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just thinking like I'm seeing the gift in all of this. Like it's showing me how to do things differently. It's making me question things that need to be working better than they have been. And then at the same time, just these gifts just came in the form of chunks of money that I wasn't expecting that mean I'm okay financially and Seeds is okay financially. I mean, I was at a point where I was thinking like, all right, I'm not going to be able to pay rent past like July. So what am I going to do? I could go back to my off-grid tiny house in Massachusetts that I built in 2023 and left at the end of 2023, and I haven't been back since. But it's off-grid and it's Massachusetts, so I could only live there for a couple months before it got too cold, and I would have to figure out, I mean, it's certainly not impossible to do that. People used to do that before electricity and so forth, but it would have been very challenging to figure out a way to get, like, I would want to get like a wood burning stove set up. That would have been a whole thing because I don't trust having a propane heater. I had a small propane heater inside that I was using before I left in late 2023, but I left like November 6th or something, and it was just getting too cold by that point to have that set up. And I just was always worried about it, like it's a wood tiny house built from a kit. It's just like raw wood. And I'm just afraid I was gonna like burn it down and die in a fire. Also, it was like a Mr. Buddy heater. They produce so much moisture that wasn't ideal either. Whatever. So I was just thinking like, okay, I could do that, but then this would be a challenge. And also, it should be mentioned that town, the shitty older people still running that town, kind of chased me out of the town. They kind of ran me out of the town. It was terrible the way they handled that. The way they handled somebody coming in and wanting to build a tiny house on land that I own. And so I would have presumably had to face some of that again. Which is technically, I'm not legally supposed to be there, except that they changed what they said. And it was like one dude in the building inspector's office who told me one thing and then did not back that up whenever the actual building inspector said something else. And it was just like this old boys club like bullshit. And they're all, I don't know, 60 probably. That town is a great little town. It really is. There are so few small towns in the States that are like that type of town, like where there are three bookstores, literally three bookstores in a town of like 2,000 people that I could walk to from my house. And just the falls are there. Bill Cosby's there. It's where Bill Cosby lives, apparently. Um, that's like why I remembered to look into it though, for some reason. Like when I got the land for that place, I mean, it's the town where the first Vipassana center that I ever went to is in. And I like remembered that it existed as a place when I was trying to actively look for land in like early 2022 because I remembered about Bill Cosby. And then I just literally, I like asked the universe or whatever. I was like, if I'm supposed to buy this land, so I looked it up on Trulia or whatever, one of the sites. I'm pretty sure it was Trulia, one of the real estate websites, and saw this piece of land. And I was like, universe or whatever, energy's the highest good, whatever you want to call them. If I'm supposed to get this land, please bring in the money for this. I think I said within the week. And within 24 hours, a chunk of money had come in that made it possible for me to buy the land. So I did. And I'm still not entirely sure why it wanted me to do that. Because it just seemed like there were so many hurdles in trying to build a house there. Initially, I was trying to build like a conventional house there. And then I decided to just build the tiny house. There were like COVID supply chain issues and crypto was coming down. And so it seemed like I shouldn't spend money on something like that then. And just stuff like that. I don't know. But yeah, so it didn't look like that was actually viable to leave here and go back there for such a short amount of time. And then where was I going to go come November if I couldn't figure out a way to set up a wood stove safely? And even then it would have been so much labor to to just survive. That's like, I shit on the construction of modern society a lot, and I shouldn't do it I think I need to be a little bit kinder about it, because certainly it has afforded us some benefits, and some of those benefits are, like near ubiquity in the developed world in terms of having heat and running water. And what else do we have inside our houses? Places to cook. It's nice to be able to cook here at this house. I couldn't do that without getting out my camp stove and setting it up, and I had a lot more limitations. Cleaning was a lot more challenging in my off-grid house. So yeah, it just would have been a lot more work, and I'm still not totally healthy. That was the other big concern. The eating disorder recovery's come along nicely. It really is. It's so amazing. Like I don't even y'all, I want to like evangelize this so hard once I'm a little bit further along in the process, I think, cuz I feel like so many women especially should do this. I don't even overeat at all anymore after a lifetime of sort of binge purge cycles to some extent. I never threw up. I can never get myself to throw up, but my form of purging would be like, I guess, orthorexia, like over exercising, but I was restricting a lot. That's why that's what caused all the health problems I was having. Now that's like not even a thing at all. I'm not restricting. I'm not overeating even by a few bites. I just don't do it anymore. And then the weight is naturally coming off gradually, very gradually. But I'm noticing it. I can like my cheekbones are a little bit more visible now than they were. But the whole point is like to not be attached to all of that. But I still want my body to be like comfortable and functional. And so there's this, it doesn't want to be this fat. It's going to take off this extra weight because it doesn't want this extra weight. So I'm just, like, I have to be patient until that happens. And I don't really care that much now anyway. I mean, I can move around better than I could a few months ago. My back problems are a little bit better. They were exacerbated by like how fat my gut had gotten. And that's getting a little bit better because I think it's just like carrying less weight now. Whatever. So just all that, I didn't want to, it's just, I knew it would compromise the healing process if I was also going into a situation where I had to do that much labor just to cover basic things like heat, because it's just more work, obviously, to live in like an off-grid home. So I wanted to be totally healthy before I even considered doing something like that. And then on top of that, did I say earlier that I was not going to talk about myself this much? Hopefully this is okay. I'm interested when other people talk about themselves. Look, listen to me do this. It's just because of people calling me egotistical for saying some of these things. I think that's what I'm trying to avoid, and there was misogyny like dripping in those accusations. It doesn't mean that I don't have egotistical moments ever, but anyway, whatever. So I was thinking about all that stuff, all those factors. If I wouldn't have had money come in, and then I had these chunks of money come in totally by surprise. So this is, I no longer have any intention of doing this, living out this plan right now. And then I was thinking, like, I found these things called hiker trailers, and I was actually getting really excited about them, which also was a sign that I was getting healthier, because like that's how I always had been before I was so like depleted with the eating disorder health stuff. I would like find out about something, learn something, and get really excited about it and like research it a lot. And I found out about this company called Hiker Trailer, excuse me. And they make these like really simple, sort of basic, I guess they're RVs, but like I could tow it with my Subaru Crosstrek. And you put a bed in there, and it seemed really great. You can even get like an attached shower and stuff. So like if I had that set up, I don't have a shower at my tiny house, but it could have, I don't know, I could have cobbled something together that worked. And I don't think the town could have hassled me about parking that on my land. And like technically I can be in the tiny house. I'm just not supposed to quote unquote live in it slash sleep in it. Whatever. But then I was thinking like, oh, maybe I could like go to Martha's Vineyard in the summer with this hiker trailer and then just like stealth camp in the middle of the island, which you can, it's possible. Like people have done it. It's such a bummer though, because that was such like a hippie haven. And now like the rich people have made it a lot harder to do that. But that also would have required energy. And it takes a lot. I mean, if you've ever done it, if you've ever not known where you're going to live for a while, because whether it's because you experienced homelessness or you were just traveling a lot for a long period of time, it takes a lot of energy and logistics planning just to figure out where you're going to be at what time. And when you don't have a place to be during the day, that's hard too. And it makes it a lot harder to work. And all of this would have taken a lot of energy that I didn't feel like quite had yet, because I'm not quite healed enough, like going through this eating disorder recovery process. And then the kicker with that though is that the other issue had been that we have this like some disputed debt that Seeds has, which we have disputed. We have disputed this debt, and the shitty corporate company, which owns the debt, posted it to my personal credit report. And I've never had like credit trouble or anything like that in the past. I've never had anything like this happen. And I mean, I've certainly maxed out my debt to keep Seeds alive at certain points, which drives your credit score down. But it would just be a thing where I would then pay whatever X percentage of that off, and then my credit score would be back in the 700s again or whatever. Credit scores are also kind of total bullshit, but that's maybe a conversation for another time. But because they reported this disputed debt to my personal credit report, it destroyed my credit in a way that you don't recover from quickly, I thought. But it's already like back up. And I've disputed this personally to like the credit bureaus and stuff a bunch of times, and they keep blowing it off. And then I like God, I had to send another demand letter to another corporation to threaten to sue them for this. How many times have I had to do that, like in the last couple years? So many times, because so many corporations are abusing power. And I think it just reinforces this idea that I actually haven't heard anyone talking about. Been thinking I should make a YouTube video about this topic, but I think corporations as a structure are going to need to die. And I think the astrology during this period, as we're getting away from this top-down hierarchical thing, it supports that idea too. Corporations just really shouldn't be a thing. What value are they creating with that specific design? It seems like it's not good for a lot of people, except for those at the very top of the pyramid in a monetary sense. But are those people happy either? Like, Elon Musk is a fucking miserable dude. So that meant, though, the reason I brought that up is that it meant that if I left this house um, with shit credit, how would I live anywhere else ever again? That's how homelessness happens for long extended periods. It's a contributing factor. So yeah, it just seemed like I can't leave this place until and that's what I thought all along. Like, I don't want to leave here, even though I feel like I've complained about this too much, but yeah, I don't love this house, but I have a great landlady. That's a huge deal. And it's a house, whatever. I'm grateful to be living inside in a place that has electricity and running water and heat and whatever. And I told myself, like, I'm not going to leave this place until I have somewhere better to go. So thank you, whatever. Energy supply is good and stuff. The universe, whatever, that just sent these chunks of money in. So now I'm not even thinking about this as a thing. It just like took care of it. It looks fine now. And then this month, my credit report, for reasons that are completely unclear to me, my credit score is up like 130 points. So that's like back into like acceptable range. So it's just, I don't know. I, that's good. It's good to see that. I've been having so many dreams though for months now. Dreams of being in New York, living in New York. I just had another one like 2 nights ago. Dreams where I live in New York. And I watched some show. I don't even remember what it was. It could have been a YouTube video or something. But this was maybe, I don't know, a month and a half ago or something. I saw New York depicted somehow on screen. And I literally started crying because I was longing for New York so much. And I don't have a relationship to place on Earth really at all. Like, pretty much everywhere feels the same, except I'm choosing to continue to live in the States where I'm from. Different places have, better or worse infrastructure. Maybe you speak the language or you don't. Things are more challenging if they're more remote, but it's all Earth, whatever. Like, it just kind of feels like, I don't know, I kind of do the same things wherever I am. And at this point, I've lived a bunch of places and traveled a bunch of places. I've mostly lived in the States, though, different parts of the States. But with New York, I just feel, that was interesting to observe that I had that strong of an emotional something, like just this deep longing for this place. And I saw that the person that I think I'm going to end up with, the semi-famous person whose initials start with M, he was in New York around that time. Like, I later saw, because he's kind of a public figure. And so I wondered if it was connected to him being there that I felt that deep longing. In late 2022, I started traveling related to this thing I was just saying about New York. I started traveling and I thought I was going to like buy a house in Tuscany, because you can buy houses there for $110,000 or something. And I went there and I looked at a house and it was okay. And then I just felt like going to the UK for a while. So I went there for a while. And part of the reason I was getting out of the States was because it's so misogynistic here. And yeah, I think I was in the UK for like 3 months or something. And then I went to Canada for a while. And what I realized after the fact was that I think it wasn't that I wanted to buy a house in Tuscany per se. It was that I was trying to find his energy, because his family, I didn't know this until afterward, he has like a Tuscan last name. and he grew up in the UK, and he spent a lot of time in Toronto, which was I was in Ontario, Toronto area. So I think that's actually what I was doing. I was like trying to follow his energy, but I thought it was something else. And here, being in Portland, it kind of feels like I'm not off my path exactly, but like I don't have much connection to this place. I was thinking those things. I was thinking that maybe because he had been in New York, that's why I was having all of these dreams about New York and this sense of longing for it that made me literally have tears while awake. Like that's how strong this was. But then like 2 nights ago, I had another dream about, like I just mentioned, I guess, I had another dream, or the night before last, another dream about living in New York, being in New York. And when I woke up, I thought it was like the energies or whatever trying to tell me that, like, no, even if he's there or not there, it's also like you need to be in New York. I guess I'm assuming he's no longer in New York, but maybe he is, he could be. But it didn't feel like it in the same way. Who cares though? Like all of this stuff, like who cares? I kind of care, but I don't care that much. I don't know. Like it just feels like this I'm healing more stuff, improving more things, but it's still this holding period for like the big event that's still coming, which might be coming sooner than we think. Yeah. And then in a creative sense, it doesn't feel like I can do much. So that brings me back to the witch. So I'll talk about the witch, and then that should be more than enough to chat about today. I'm sure this has already gotten pretty long. Um so I had these 2 sessions with this witch, this self-proclaimed witch. And like I said, I've never had a witch session before. And my puppy's looking at me. Huh. He's looking at me like he feels some energy that's, oh, I love you. But like he senses something else. I don't know. Anyway, I had this session and I talked to her specifically about the back of my neck, which I've talked about in other podcasts. I've been convinced that I had past lives, multiple past lives, where things either I had a death injury where somebody stabbed me through the back of the neck, and another really trippy past life where like some kind of big mystical being latched onto the back of my neck because she could drain energy from there or something. And it just felt like in this life, it was open. I felt like there was this like gaping hole in the back of my neck that like things that were trying to attack me could come in through. And that seemed related to a lot of the challenges that I was having. It seemed related to getting robbed last year, for example, very clearly, even though there were lessons that I've learned through that have been helpful. I could have learned them, I think, in different ways that weren't so. Uh, it was it felt deeply hostile. Like the energy of that felt personal and very like cruel and just like kind of the worst expression of toxic, shitty masculine energy, like the the least healthy form of that energy, trying to attack me and jeopardize seeds and stuff. And it felt very connected to this thing in the back of my neck, like all of this stuff that was happening that seemed to be about stuff coming at me, kind of energies trying to mess with me. And so I go into the session with this witch, and one of the things I wanted to work on was like closing the back of my neck, this hole. It's through Vipassana. This is something I think I understand, but I don't totally understand because I've worked on it through Vipassana. I mean, there were early courses that I sat where I remember it was like my 4th course or something. It was only after a couple courses that I even realized that I couldn't feel anything at all in my neck or my throat. Like I hadn't developed enough awareness to even feel the sensations in my neck and throat. I think because there was so much sankara in there. And then I remember at a later course, I remember later speaking about how I had like 15 different sensations in my neck and throat. So through the Vipassana, I know I've been working at it and I know that that clears things at the root. But what I haven't understood, I guess, is like, because there are other powers out there, there are other things that can be done that aren't necessarily about getting us to nirvana, nibbana, but that can offer, like reprieve. And that seems like it could be helpful, um, while still continuing to work on the root cause. through Vipassana. But Goenka talks a lot about how like you shouldn't mix things. And his whole organization is set up so that if people are mixing things, meaning like if you go to like a single Reiki session or something like that, as you're more developed, they won't let you sit longer courses. I've even heard about a girl like getting kicked out when she was further along, simply because I think she like did a Reiki course. And there's something in that that is of Goenka's Sankara, and I've never heard him explicitly explain why. And I don't know about anything in the Buddhist texts that talk about this. Goenka says that Vipassana was lost because people mixed things in with it, and then it stopped working as well, and then people stopped doing it. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. So there's that part of it that I do want to understand, like in a longer term way. I guess I could try and find out like what the origin of his saying that is. I don't know of anything about like Uba Kin saying something similar, Goenka's teacher. And yeah, like I said, I don't think there's anything in the text specifically about like don't practice any other forms of healing. I think they do say, well, they say no astrology, I think, but I only know that because it's in a discourse of the IMC courses, and I don't know where they're pulling that from in the text. I don't know. It's something I want to look into more. So I had some sort of reservations about seeing this witch, kind of, but I continued to do healing work with Taya Anderson for years, and that didn't seem as contrary to what I was doing in Vipassana, or not contrary. I don't know. It seemed like I didn't have these questions when working with Taya. I guess because this witch seemed to work so differently. Anyway, so yeah, we did some stuff. She had me do like a shamanic ritual, going to the underworld, very like pagan type like rituals and stuff. And after that first session, I've had two sessions with her. It felt like the back of my neck was covered, but it felt like this flap of skin had been sewn onto it in like this really sloppy way with like stitches that were way too far apart, and that it was like oozing and like not healed, and it felt like there was like rotten stuff inside that still needed to come out. And it kind of freaked me out because it made me think like, wow, she's really powerful. Because when I meditated after that session with the witch, I could really feel that it was there. It feels, when I tune into it now, it feels closed. I don't even need to tune into it because I'm aware of it almost all the time, actually. Yeah, it felt closed, but it felt closed in that way, which felt inexpert. It didn't feel like something a really sophisticated healer would do. So I became concerned that she was very powerful, but also like not, I could tell when we spoke that her awareness wasn't super developed. I think she's probably still using intoxicants and stuff, would be my guess. Whether she's like, I should ask her whether she's still like, I don't know, like doing ayahuasca a lot or smoking a lot of weed or something, because that fucks with your awareness. And I should know. I mean, I abused intoxicants for many years. So it kind of, I was wary because it felt like I was engaging with someone who seemed very powerful, who maybe wasn't aware enough to like expertly heal the thing. So with some reservations, I went in and booked a second session with her, which I did. And I just talked to her about this and talked about clearing this. And then I also talked about this thing in my head, which I've spoken about in other videos talking about past lives, in the podcast and on the YouTube channel as well. This sounds trippy, but so it's like the front quarter top right of my head. And it felt like something was there to block transmissions from like these beings. When I worked with Taya Anderson, she would channel these beings for me. They seemed like alien beings. When I try to like what's that called? Automatic write myself, the first line that would come out a lot was, "You are blue." It seemed like these beings were blue and maybe I was with them before. I don't know. They seem, I don't, I feel like an alien or something. I don't feel like I've a human, but I feel like I've been here a lot. Like I've done a bunch of human lives. And I think it's been in preparation for this life. I think this is a life where a lot of stuff on earth is going to change. And I'm supposed to play a part in that and whatever. And I'm trying to to be ready and do what I see seems to be my mission and whatever. So when Taya would channel these beings, she said that typically when she channeled for people, it would just come down in like one single transmission through the center of her head. But when she channeled my beings, it would come down on both sides, on the left and the right. And I think that's why I couldn't channel them the way that she could, because it seemed like I had this block on the right, which is the feminine side of the brain. Like right side of the brain is left side of the body, the feminine side. So it seemed like it was blocking something, but it also didn't seem nefarious or like it was put there by energies trying to make things harder for me. It felt like it was protective in some way. So anyway, in the second session with the witch, I asked her to fix the thing in my neck and to like make sure it wasn't just this gross unhealed flap of skin, and also to look at removing the thing on my head. And so that time she did a shamanic thing where she like took me to the overworld or the upper world. And afterward again, I was like just like, wow, that really made a huge difference that I can feel. And it was never like that with Taya. Not in sort of like these I'm wondering if it's because she's more pagan and like more earth connected. Because with Taya, I would have big shifts and stuff that I could feel, but I didn't necessarily have this awareness of them so pointedly in my physical being or whatever, or like my mind body structure and concentrated physical areas. I wonder if that's why. So it was trippy and it's really helped, I think. I don't think that as long as I've been able to be aware enough, like I think it could have caused problems if I wasn't aware enough to recognize that the thing on my neck seemed like it wasn't fully taken care of in the way that it needed to be. But because I do have enough awareness to see stuff like that, I was able to ask her to look at it. And it was kind of cool and trippy too, because she looked at it before I mentioned this visual I had of like the gross flap of skin covering it, but it not being stitched on well and big gaps between the stitches. She had independently like looked at it and asked it if it needed to be stitched up. And she was told that no, that's not what it needed. So then I later mentioned this like image of stitching. So like we were seeing a similar thing. It was kind of cool. Um, and it did make me feel more connected to my own power with things like this. I've known for a while that this is where I'm like worried I'm going to get called egotistical or whatever again. I've felt for a while that my awareness is getting quite developed. It seems to be like Goenka talks about awareness and equanimity being two wings of the bird. You need both to develop, he would say. They're both, I don't know where he gets that from though, and I want to know the origin of that idea. And they're both paramis, two of the 10 paramis that you need to develop to get out of this, to reach nibbana. And Goenka would talk about how it's like they're like 10 pots, and every time you're kind, every time you're tolerant, every time you have equanimity, you're putting a drop of water in each of these 10 parami buckets, whatever, pots. And then eventually they'll be filled and you'll get out of this. And I really believe it's true that like you'll hear I experienced this myself, but you'll hear stories about people like just hearing the word Vipassana and just like being attracted to it and knowing like, yep, I have to go, and they'll just go. That's how it was for me. I'm convinced that people get activated at a certain point when they've developed their paramis enough so, excuse me, and then once you hit that point, you just will practice Vipassana. Like nothing will stop you. I think it's like that. Why did I bring this up? I don't remember why I brought this up. Why did it make the thought leave me? What did that? Something that wants me not to share an idea? Oh, yeah, I was saying, so I've known for a while that my awareness, my sati, seems to have developed quite well. For a while, I thought it was like really out of whack with my equanimity. The two wings of the bird were not in balance at all. And my equanimity has improved since. It seems like in this life, the parami I really need to work on is tolerance and then also equanimity. And they're sort of related, I think, because I have because it's been so hard for me, I guess, to be in this world. And I have so much, I just hate the wounded masculine energy and what it's done. And I feel so much grief and anger about it still. That's it. That's the thing. That is the source of the struggle with tolerance. And I think, anyone who's aware of that would feel similar things until you've developed enough tolerance to accept it for what it is. And that's, once you're accepting it, once you're truly tolerant of it, that's when you're much more effective in addressing the unhealthiness in it and stuff too. So it seems not only essential for my personal spiritual growth, but really important for this mission in this life, which I think is about seeds scaling so that everyone can use it, so that the old economic system falls. We're no longer stuck trading our time for money, doing things we often don't like. We can just use seeds. And I think this will be the way I end it. I see an ending for this conversation that I'm having with myself that I appreciate you listening to. Yeah, like creatively, the other piece of the larger mission, I think, is this clown film about this clown film I want to make that I've wanted to make for it's going on 7 years. When the image of the final scene first came in my head while I was meditating, and my puppy's looking at me again. What are the energies doing? They do feel higher. Huh. One time I actually pointed this out in the comments and Paul said he saw it too. One time in one of these recordings for the podcast that I posted on YouTube, there were like, you could see like an orb or something in one of the, I just got a chill describing it in one of the sessions. It was cool. Anyway, and it does feel like the energies feel better and higher now. Yeah, the other piece I think that is a huge part of that mission is the artistic, creative piece of it. And so I've thought that I'll make this clown film, which will help people remember the fall of Atlantis, remember what we had before that time. And I think the reason I've seen that past life and the reason all of this fits together is that a lot of us who are alive as humans now were there when Atlantis fell. So we remember what the energies that existed then in this time before our current understanding of masculine and feminine energies existed. And it was a high sort of feminine like energy, but things weren't that way yet. We didn't have masculine feminine in that sense just yet. And then the attackers took us down. But this period of whatever 13,000 years or something since Atlantis fell has been about integrating the attackers' energy so that we're even wiser and more developed and better, more evolved in terms of our growth as humanity than we were at that time. So a lot of us are here now, right? And so this film would help us remember that. That would be the dream of what this film would do, that it would wake that up in everybody who has touched it. And that's it seems like a very large responsibility. It also seems very difficult to do, although I know if I rely on the energies, that the energies would guide me to it. But I've been trying to write it for a while, but not with any sort of real structured discipline or whatever. Like I haven't said I'm going to work on this for 90 minutes a day or anything like that. Some of that is that I don't want it to be forced. I know that won't work anyway. When I open up the channels, more stuff does just come through. Like I'll just get ideas and I'll jot them down. But after the first session with the witch, I had this moment of I felt so much compassion and love for the protagonist, who is quite similar to me. And I think that's been a real challenge in working on it in a creative sense and in getting the screenplay done. And I think I have to get the screenplay done, and then I'll send it to this actor that I think is going to be my collaborator and my partner. I'll send it to him to ask him to help get it made. And I think that's how I'm going to meet him. That's what I think. It still feels like there's more time, and also like some other shifts energetically are going to happen that'll make it just kind of click into place like a magnet. But it has felt like I have to have this script. It has to exist to be able to share it for him to understand, and whatever part of him is aware and recognizing things. Because I think he really is operating on that level, but I don't think he's intellectually cognizant of it in the way that I am. And I think he's more feminine, actually. I'm more in my masculine in a lot of ways in this life. I think I am pretty intellectual, and I think he's more feelings driven and intuitive in certain ways, although I think my intuition is well developed as well, but I'm more masculine in a lot of senses in this life. Um, it was helpful for this mission, I think, in a lot of ways. Anyway, so yeah, I just felt like I couldn't do it. Like, because this protagonist, if she's like me, they're going to hate her, like they hate me, kind of thing. But after this first session with the witch, I felt so much love and compassion for her. And she was also much more distinct from me as Rachel. And I think that's key too. I mean, when you're making a thing, when you're writing a thing in particular, I suppose, everything is you, everybody is kind of you, but they're not you. So even if something seems quite autobiographical, it's not you, right? It's not really you. There is that separation. And so I think tuning into that will help. But more than that, it's just loving them. If I'm loving every person who is a character in this thing that I'm creating, it's just going to be a healing, like kind of fun, wonderful place to be in it. And it needs to be fun too. I want to have fun doing it. And I really want the completed film to be fun for people to experience. The fun is such an important part of it. So I hope that separates me from it. I can feel that energy more so around me now. And I just want to channel it and have that show me what to do. I did get a pretty powerful breakthrough the other day regarding something that needs to happen for the protagonist. So, yeah, overall things are good, I guess. It does still feel like having a stable home and supportive humans around me would just allow things to accelerate a lot more quickly. But longing for that is not manifesting it. It's not aligning me with it in the way that it needs to because it's craving. And that's okay. That's been something that has been a blocker, I guess, or, it's just been a thing that I want to release. I am releasing. I think it's releasing nowish. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate you. If you feel like being a part of Seeds, you could give even a couple dollars at the link in the description, help someone in need, help Jennifer build her cob house. If you want to do that, did I mention Jennifer earlier? Yeah, we have a request for help on the website now where a woman in the UK is building a cob house for two families and she redeemed a seed to get help to do that. It's a really awesome use case for Seeds. And you could be a part of that. You could help her build this cob house and get Seeds cryptocurrency. And thanks if you'd like to do that. Okay, I'll let y'all go. Take care. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.